All right, really excited for this one. Today we're going to take a look at a Demonbrand Ruins plus 25, and we're going to sit through the whole thing and do some developer commentary, which is new for us. I'm Hamish, the community director for Fellowship, and I'm joined by Axel on the other side of the world. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello, hello.
All right.
Greetings.
Very cool. Yeah, this is taken from our most recent private playtest, so we've got some members of our community council here. So you'll see Kate playing Mako. We've got Godlike Joe on Adios, I think, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And we've got Unlucky, who's doing some healing on Vigor. And then also, very cool, Just Wait is playing Tariq. Okay.
Indeed.
So, for the people who haven't played this before, Axel, what are some of the first things that they'll have to do when they run through Demonbrand?
Right, so in Demonbrand, at the very start, you're going to have to access these pillars. You see one to the left of Mako here on screen. You're going to have to click on those when you're not in combat in order to get some blood orbs traveling to gates, which allow you to get further on. So right now they're working through these packs to open the gates that lead to the boss's platform, the first boss.
Yeah. Really cool. I think also people might notice a very big difference from this video compared to a lot of the ones that I've been creating from our playtests. I have not played at this level. I think the highest I've done in any of our tests is like a plus 18 kind of thing. But generally, if I'm creating content, it's usually early on in the builds, and it's very much near the start of that difficulty curve. So this is going to look like different in a huge lot of ways. Axel, can you talk a little bit about the main ways in which this part of the difficulty curve for the players is extremely different from at the start?
For sure. Yeah, so one thing that we've been discussing in this playtest has been the difficulty curve. We've changed it quite a bit from the Steam Next Fest. So it increases a lot faster in the beginning and then slows a little bit down at the end. But generally, this 25 that they're doing now is the equivalent of 29 or 30, somewhere around there, when we did the Steam Next Fest video. So generally, we've kind of squished the difficulties together a bit. And another thing that we're looking at is just how kind of the defensive power of heroes and the offensive power of the heroes, how that is scaling alongside the curves. So we want to find a nice balance where the game gets harder and harder, the gameplay gets more and more fast-paced, but at the same time, we want to make sure that, well, there's two things we really want to try to avoid happening too early in the curve, which is everything just turns into one-shots, so you're kind of just surviving on how many defensive cooldowns you have, and when you run out, it's just kind of everyone dies, aside from the tank, potentially. And we also want to make sure that the damage power of the players is not getting outscaled by the enemy's health to a degree where it feels like you're just kind of treading through mud, like every pack takes 5 minutes because they have so much health, even if you have a lot of damage. So we've been tuning this back and forth, and in this test we're going to continue doing that. And as you can see on this level, they have really good gear. They've been gearing up quite a bit on these heroes.
Yeah. How close would you say they are to
weapons
gear cap? Are they completely capped out on gear, or is there still like some overhead on the gem system? Where would they land right now, would you say?
Yeah, they're pretty far in on the gem system. There was a bug in this test which didn't allow them to upgrade the last 2 item level tiers on their items. So right now they're around 300 item level, but the cap in the game is intended to be 330. So they have quite a bit of power left that they could get out. Also with the new weapon system and the traits, which we've been previewing a bit, in this build they don't have access to upgrading the traits on the weapons. and there's quite a bit of power to get there too. We're going to have that in pretty soon. So I'd say there's still quite a bit of power that they can find once those things are in as well.
That's really cool. Is there anything in the gameplay that jumps out to you now? Obviously, we're doing a plus 25 of this boss. Looking through what they're doing mechanically here, are you like, oh, is there anything that's particularly cool that you want to point out?
I think the big thing is at some point... So what's happening here is these blood orbs that the boss summons, they'll just keep bouncing around the area forever. So eventually this turns into like a bullet hell shooter kind of thing where it's just orbs all over the place. If the orbs hit the boss, it deals really high damage to everyone in the room. On this level, it's near white if one of the orbs hit the boss. But what you can do is, and what they're doing here, because the boss fight is a bit longer now, it's a much higher difficulty. Eventually, it would be impossible or really, really hard to avoid the boss getting hit by these orbs. So you can see that the players are picking up the orbs. Now, when you pick up an orb as a player, there's a few negative aspects to that. They get a debuff that increases all damage they take, and that stays up for duration, and it stacks, and it hurts to take these orbs. So the more orbs they're eating, the more damage they're taking from eating these orbs. So they are right now trying to manage just how many stacks they can have, and trying to make sure that they reset, which either is done by just letting the debuff drop off, or after this explosion happens, you can dip your feet in the fire to cleanse it. So that's why you would see them running around trying to eat these orbs to kind of clear that area. Ooh, big pull. Now we got a big one, triple.
I know Kate loves to do that. It's I once ran through a dungeon with Kate and I was like, please, I'm not ready. Really cool.
I thought they would have one of their ults up for this, but I don't see anyone having an ult.
No.
This. So that makes this pull a little bit tougher, actually.
Actually, that's a good question that
those interrupts.
I have for you while I have you on the line. Do you see a future in which we have, or do we, I don't know, have it on the go already, an indication of availability of ultimate abilities in the UI, like some sort of little flash on the HUD for your party members?
Yes, we've gotten a fair bit on a cooldown tracker, which allows you to track cooldowns on other members in the party. We disabled this for this build because we didn't feel it was ready. We need to work into it a bit. We'll see. We've got a lot of things to work on, and prioritizing. Everything ends up on a list of priority, basically. So we will make sure that at least when your party members have their spirit abilities ready. The spirit ability is the ultimate, by the way. And then, we're just working to find out a good way for people to customize which cooldowns they want to track and not, and how and stuff. So we'll see how much of that we get in and when. But we're working on it, for sure.
That's really cool, actually.
I should mention, too, we were looking at our Deus and the other DPS balancing-wise in this build. I know that Just Wait on Tariq came in, switched over to Tariq pretty late, so I think he's a little bit behind. But you can still see that Ardeus, on the damage meters to the left there, Ardeus is doing massive damage. And we actually had a long discussion about how Ardeus scaling works and how we can rein that in a bit. Ardeus scales, or has been, I should say, scaling a lot the more gear you get. There's been a few things where he double dips in some stats and stuff due to how his mechanics works. And had some great discussions. I think we've found some really good things that are going to help rein in his scaling a bit, which is good because that means we can boost him a little bit in the starting levels, because Ardeus has been really weak in the start and then he kind of goes cosmic at the end game, so we're tuning that in. And Tariq needed some buffs. We can see that here too, because Mako, the tank, is pretty close behind.
Yeah, I guess I was having a few DMs back and forth with Just Wait on Discord the other day and having a chat about if there's any ways to, tweak the swing timer to reward really timing things perfectly. And so he's got some really, really good ideas. So I'll make sure that those come to you as well.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Speaking of the UI, just going back to a second ago, I actually had a really interesting conversation with Johan just about 30 minutes ago on a call. And there's all these new things coming into the HUD edit mode. And spoilers, one of the ones that he was like, oh, do you just want to take a look at my screen? I'll show you this what I've got right now. And he's been working really hard on some of the custom bars that people have been, positing maybe would be coming. And it was really cool seeing them. And I'm sure I'll be able to show them off to people really soon. I saw things stacking differently, some grids and sizing. And yeah, there's a lot of cool new stuff coming to the HUD edit as well.
Yeah, that action bar customization stuff is awesome. You can add new bars, you can size, you can change how many rows or columns. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with that part.
Yeah.
Looking forward to.
Yeah, for people that don't, so Johan is our chief operating officer, but he's also a programmer. So he's getting his hands dirty on a lot of those features, which is really, really cool to see.
Yeah. Every single person at Chief Rebel somehow is working on the game.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
That's how we roll.
Yeah. There's actually an interesting part coming up in a second. So people might recognize this even if they didn't play this dungeon during the last test. But you come down the stairs here and there's...
Well, you can see here that Kate is using line of sight to make sure to bunch up those enemies tightly. And she wants to do that because it's a lot easier for everyone to do damage if they're tightly packed.
Yeah,
and I should say, they make this look easy. This is extremely... if you mess up a couple of things here, someone's going to die. You can see on the health bars, even the tank, things move real fast when something comes out. So, yeah, they're making this look really easy.
Yeah. I guarantee it would not go this smoothly if I was playing.
They've got 2 Ooga Booga flames to keep an eye on here too. There's 2 arsonists who do a spell that will one-shot anyone who it targets. There's an Ooga Booga flame. Yeah,
you can see they've got their interrupt markers. Yep, perfect.
Yep.
So people who don't know what those little portraits are next to the enemy health bars and the timers that are ticking down, that's tracking people's kick or interrupt cooldowns. Yeah, but
that's how they could, I don't know if you guys missed it there, but Ardeus interrupt marker was on that arsonist. It had 6 seconds left on the cooldown when the arsonist started to cast Ooga Booga, and you could see that Kate could instantly see Ardeus won't be able to interrupt this, so she interrupted it right away instead. So it helps a lot with players being able to just coordinate their interrupts on enemies.
Yeah, it's also worth saying that this is very much a work in progress build. Like I said, this is a private test that we've been working on. And there are some things in here which are very placeholder. I forgot to mention, for example, that skill on, maybe it wasn't that one, but I think it's Armageddon on Adios, which is borrowing some VFX from, where is that, a boss ability?
Yeah. Apocalypse. Yeah, exactly.
Apocalypse, yeah. Yeah.
It scares the bejesus out of everyone. Every time Ardeus does Apocalypse Now, since it looks like that boss ability, which is a boss ability that one-shots people. Yeah, so it's your muscle memory is just run away. And it's no, it's Ardeus. We're going to fix that. We've been working on Ardeus Kit, and that one's not going to look like an enemy ability when it's done. Yeah. Here we go, second boss.
Yeah.
Big cursed flower.
Actually, fun fact,
demonic flower.
This boss was a late addition, or kind of the most recent boss addition to this dungeon. In previous builds, you might have noticed...
I want to talk about this a bit. Sorry, Hamish, jumping in. You can see now they're running around to step on all these little flower seeds that the boss is shooting out. Now, the reason why they want to do that is because if they don't step on them, these little flowers appear, and if you step on them, you'll spawn one of these little flowers. And eventually the boss is going to do another ability where she kind of goes into sleep and awakens every flower that's been dormant on the level. Now, the flowers themselves are not super dangerous, but they have a I think it's like a 15% of all damage they take is reflected. So if you have like a bunch of these, 10, 15, 20 of these flowers, it's very easy for DPS to kill themselves if they do AoE damage on them. However, the flowers and these vines that you see the boss spawns, so all the boss's minions also share a bit of health with the boss. So this is an encounter where you can... The boss has a bit of extra health compared to other bosses as well, but you can very quickly take down the boss if you do allow a lot of the flowers to spawn, since they're gonna share damage with the boss to a degree. But since they also have reflect damage, you have to be careful on how much of that you do, because you might just kill yourself. And it seems like they're playing it safe right now, because they're trying to step on as many flowers as they can. But they've got a few there. 6 maybe?
Mm-hmm.
But now when they do AoE on these, they're going to be doing some extra damage on the boss as well.
Yep. Nice. What was I saying? Oh yeah, that's right. This was the last boss to come into it, but we didn't see it from Kate's perspective in this one, but there's a demon that basically bashes through the wall. We're going to go through that way in just a second. That doesn't show up as a boss in this dungeon, but there was a time when that was the last boss of this dungeon. And the last boss of this dungeon now used to be a different version of that, and it used to be here in the dungeon. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. They've all kind of just been playing musical chairs, but that demon that's gone through the wall, I'm sure will make an appearance in a future dungeon somewhere down the road.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah. For now, he just kind of rage quits, and that's the whole thing.
Yep. I mean, he's been trapped here for
just chilling
a
on the roof.
long time in the temple. Yeah, so it'd be kind of anticlimactic if he just like, I'm free. Oh no, and then he gets beat. So yeah, we're saving him for later. Fine.
Yeah, so that was the Apocalypse. That looks like a possibility, but is actually Adeos doing stuff.
The big orange ring. Yeah.
Yep. I know.
So we'll see here. We've got a bunch of flowers and vines. If they start AoEing here, you'll probably see how their health is.
Yeah, 13% to go.
It was really clear on the last, when they had like 7 flowers up, Ardeus was doing detonates, and you could see his health go like going down.
Can you talk me through a little bit? So just looking at Unlucky on Discord, but I am lucky in game. A lot of mana.
Yeah.
Is this too easy? Or what's
No, it's so Unlucky. I mean, well, I want us to still kind of keep track of mana. Mana currently it works, but as with a difficult scaling curve, like finer tuning to those things, we'll get to. The reason why I am lucky on Vigor here is at full mon all the time is because he's playing a build specifically where he's basically never casting heals. He's relying a lot on... So Vigor has mana as a resource for a portion of his healing, and then he has runes, which placeholder UI now is these white dots that you see in his mana bar. So he can have up to 6 radiant runes, and he has a bunch of heals and abilities that cost these runes also. So right now he's playing a build where he's going very heavily into rune generation and boosting his rune abilities. So he's not really casting the spells that cost mana almost at all, and it's a playstyle that relies on understanding how to get as much rune generation as you can out of each global instead, because if he runs out of runes, he'll be in trouble.
Yeah. Is that why we're seeing a lot of Dawnbreaker orbs coming through and these sorts of things?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they're going for this pack. I've seen most people go for the pillagers.
Interesting.
They're going for this one. Interesting. These Night Mist Cutthroats are really nasty. They will teleport behind the tank or other players, they did there, and do a backstab. And they'll just keep spamming backstab as long as any player has their back towards them. And it deals a lot of damage.
What's the logic behind who they jump to? Is it just a dice roll, or is it distance based, or?
They prefer the tank, but there is some kind of randomness to it. So every now and then they'll do it to someone else as well.
Okay.
But they do prefer the tank. You can see both of them there.
Yep.
Went behind the tank.
Interesting.
They really like heroes that have their backs turned to them. So if they teleport behind the tank and the tank moves, but the melee DPS is still standing there with their back against them, they're going to switch and hit the melee instead.
Oh, I like
so
that.
everyone kind of
Did we just see Adeos's spirit ability, the flamethrower? Was that?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Really
He's
cool.
glowing now because he's got his ult up.
Yeah.
Yep, we have started, I should say, working through all the ultimates, getting them more bombastic.
That's cool. All right, they've got the kill score
You can
completed.
also see that these mobs have a red kind of rank up. It's a placeholder, this kind of rank up icon above their health bars.
Yeah.
That means that these guys are promoted. So we've changed around quite a bit how the progression works content-wise in the game right now. So rather than being able to select all dungeons and all adventures on every difficulty, right now we've limited to, there's 3 adventures specifically on every difficulty with their own combinations of curses and affixes. So every difficulty becomes more kind of like a puzzle for you to solve. Like, okay, it's these 3 and it's with these curse combinations. Which one should we go for to try to beat the timer? And dungeons are actually here. We're also removed curses from dungeons, but they've got a few new twists going on. So they're giving more loot, and instead of the curses, what it happens at dungeons is the final boss and the trash enemies around the final boss are going to be promoted, which means as long as there's time left on the timer, they are 1 difficulty up. So there's a bug, so this boss doesn't have promoted now, but the pack you just saw are actually plus 26 difficulty, and this boss would be, once we fix all the bugs with this as well. However, if the timer runs out, then all promoted enemies and bosses are downranked to the difficulty, so you don't get bricked on that run if you do run out of time. But then there's much more rewards at the end. So in this build, you get 2 items when you beat a dungeon on time, and one of those items will have boosted eye level as well. Will be 1 step higher.
Okay, so now that we're into the last boss here, what can you point out that's interesting tactically
they need
at
to
a
kill
plus 25?
There's 2 chosen that they're gonna let walk in here. I'm not sure how they're thinking
they get
about
the
that. So
third?
you can see that all 4 players on their health bars there got 2 stacks of this dot.
Yeah.
That's pretty nasty. Yep, it's ticking. Seems like Lucky can manage.
I'm sure.
So he'll spawn 4 ads every now and then. And, ooh, you saw what Mako did there.
Yeah.
She leaped out so that she was baiting the boss to do his wicked hook. And everyone else was standing in melee because he won't use the hook on players in melee. And that's because if the healer, for example, runs out to range, when the boss is ready to do his wicked hook, he'll hook the healer and hit him in the face, and that will probably one-shot him on this difficulty.
Let's see what
So
happens
they need
now,
to stay in
'cause
melee,
there's another
and
hook.
then, yep.
Should be coming up. There it is. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, baited it again. Yeah. And now they're trying to kill these outs again to avoid that dot from happening. Now these mobs are CCable. Yep, there we go, Mako. Pulling in 2 of them.
Is that a cyclone there?
Yep.
All right. Interesting.
So now they only got 1 dot. That's better to manage, I think. Then you can see when they die, they spawn these little shadow torrents that spin around that you gotta watch out for. And when the boss gets to 50%. Oh, they might actually have had the bug here too.
What was the bug?
Baited the hook again. At 50%, the boss should change to phase 2. It doesn't seem like he has here. We found a bug where you can kind of leapfrog the phase shift. So what should be happening here is in the middle there should be a huge shadow vortex that shoots beams in 4 directions, and that's spinning slowly for the remainder of the fight.
Yep.
They managed to break that.
Exploits.
Yeah. I mean, this is why we do tests, right?
Account ban them. Yeah. No, let's go. Yeah, speaking of tests, so this test is now kind of concluded, but we've got more private tests planned, and as we do them, we want to be as transparent as possible and show you cool new things that are going in. Also, we're kind of investigating ways to bring in more people. We don't exactly know what numbers that'll look like or how people will get in, but make sure you're just looking around on Discord and still showing up. And if you're not there yet, it's discord.gg/playfellowship, and you can come and join us over there. Okay, got the gears.
Very nice.
Very cool. No, and thanks to the players from the Community Council as well as Just Wait for putting together that video. That was awesome.
Yeah, and this test, just to talk a little bit, this test has been infinitely valuable. Really grateful to everyone on the Community Council who's been helping out testing this build. We're finding a lot of things like that bug where you can leapfrog the second phase on the last boss. Also balancing and the new difficulty curve, and it's been really valuable. So we are really making the game just infinitely better every time we do one of these tests, and we're going to do more of them, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, can't wait. All right, thanks everyone for joining us today. If you liked this video and want to let us know if there's anything that jumped out at you as particularly awesome, or you spotted something that we need to fix, just let us know in the comments. And we look forward to hearing from you. All right, see you for the next one.